migration. And everyone hopefully has seen it, but we did send out, John's been good about sending out email updates on the migration, and we put together a whole suite of web pages covering the changes. Specifically, I put together some things and how it impacts at a high level, users on development services side. So let me just quickly touch base on this, and so that you'll hear it as well as being able to read it. And so, as is indicated, we're just rehosting the services we have today within this new environment. It should not impact users other than the URL is changing, and then also if you're a development services user and you have Git clones or Subversion repositories, checkouts of Subversion repositories, there are some minor changes that will need to take place there. And I recommend that if you're in that situation, you make sure and take a look at this site and this page, because it'll walk you through exactly what you need to do. And it's pretty straightforward. It should be very straightforward, actually. One thing to point out, because I've had the question come up a couple of different times, and in fact, it came up again today, and that is, people are asking, is it okay to make changes in VLab now? And the answer is yes. Any changes that are made up until our cutover, which will be around about 11 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night, is when the existing services will be turned off, and we'll begin the migration of the content over to the other system. Everything up till that point in time will be moved over. So there's no danger in adding something at this point. So that's good, I hope, for all users, that there shouldn't be any concern there. We already do have instances of the site running in the new framework, and we've been doing testing, and everything looks good there. So, Mike G is going to give you an example of the site. So this is a collaboration services site there. We have, the Redmine site is working there as well, and Jenkins and Jarrett, those applications, as well as the Git repositories, Subversion repositories, and everything else, and the whole thing working together. So that is a quick update on kind of where things stand. And so just so everyone understands, too, what's going to happen is, we've already migrated everything as of about a month and a half ago. I've been doing updates to like the Git repositories, and some of the larger data sets are syncing those across to keep them somewhat up to date. But come Thursday night, the services on the old system will be shut down. I'll do the final rsync, pull the final database, because most of our applications use relational database, pull that all across, and then run through the changes that we know we need to run through to get it to work in the new system. And then come Friday morning, the rest of the team will be involved and go through our test suites that we've put together, make sure that we haven't missed anything, and then once that's all good, we'll put in place Apache redirects on those will go live on the site, our existing sites. That'll basically, if you hit the old site, it'll redirect you to the new site. And so that'll be true for VLCS, collaboration services, as well as the development services side, the Collaborate 3 side. So that is the plan. So we're hoping, that midday Friday, the site should be live. I'm not promising it'll be that early, but so don't plan on using the site on Friday, but hopefully we'll be able to have that done sooner rather than later, so that people will have access to it. But so are there any questions at this point for me or the rest of the team?
Are there any Redmine or Jarrett changes?
What's that?
Yes, are there any Redmine or Jarrett changes?
only, as indicated here, the URL is changing. So the URL to get all of them now will be vlab.nsep.no.gov. That's going to get you to collaboration services. It's served on the root context. If you add a /redmine, that'll get you to redmine, /Jenkins for Jenkins, and Jarrett /Jarrett for Jarrett. Actually, we need to change that. That should be code review, consistent with how it is today. So I will fix that right after this. So, the URL changes. Other than that, as mentioned, if you're using Jarrett today, you most likely have clones of the Git repositories, and so depending upon how you did that clone, if you use an SSH alias, it'll be as simple as going in and changing, the host name of Collaborate3 to vlab.nsep.no.gov. If you did it with the full URL, then you're going to need to go into the .git config files for those repositories and change the URL from Collaborate3 to vlab.nsep.no.gov. So, and then if you're a Subversion user, then you're going to have to use svn relocate, and that will relocate the service to it. And they do have, I've put two different syntaxes in here, because what I discovered is that depending upon the version of Subversion you're using, that's a tongue twister, you may have to use switch with relocate or just relocate. So anyway,
the other part of my question has, you mentioned that Lightray is being upgraded to Enterprise. Is there any such changes in version numbers for Redmine and Garrett, or they're staying the same?
Redmine's staying the same because we upgraded in preparation for this. Jarrett, I've had an outstanding request, or I actually went through the upgrade of Jarrett several months ago, actually over the summer, and I didn't get a lot of feedback from people, so I was hesitant to push that update forward. I've been contemplating upgrading that to the latest version as well, and I had gone through and done all the testing, but I haven't committed to that, and I don't want to throw something in at the last minute. So at this point in time, no.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Yep, sure. Any questions on the phone or anyone else in the room there?
Yeah, and regarding questions, for those who are online, if you'll raise your hand, I'll certainly unmute you. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to try to unmute folks and see how that goes. But certainly in the interim, if you have any questions, let me know and we can go to you directly. All right. All right, well, Ken, thank you very much. And let's see, I guess Mike G is up next. Could you transfer the screen to him while I'm unmuting folks?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, thanks. One thing I will mention while Ken's doing that is we are recording this session, and I plan to put it up on the, let's see, one of the communities. I guess it would be the Virtual Lab Focal Point community. And I'll send out the URL for that so that if folks would like to go back and either watch it or, if you're not online and you would like to see it, it'll be available for you to do that. And you can certainly share that with members of your community. One of the things we're really trying to mention or drive home today is if you have a way of getting in touch with members of your community, say via email, it would be very much appreciated if you would send them the link to the migration page and just alert them that this change is coming, that the VLab will be down on Friday, and that they can stay tuned for more information through that migration page.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that if you're a high, if you're one of the more advanced users and you have, a Jenkins job or things like that you're administering within VLab, and I'd be interested in having you actually take a look at your job and things before we go live And so that's an option. So you can contact VLab.admin@NOAA.gov or myself directly and CC the VLab admin, and we can get you access to that. Just we've been going through, and but it wouldn't hurt to have additional people taking. And the site actually is live at those URLs today. I can't guarantee that it's always going to be up because we are continuing to do testing and load testing and minor updates and things. But it is available to go out and take a look at. You can make changes and things there, but don't expect those to be there when we go live on Friday, because, like I said, we're going to be
behind my shoulder when I
wiping that out.
Call.
Oh.
You logged in?
Yeah, I did. I made it. It's up and running.
Excuse me, you need to mute yourself.
What I'll do is.
Sorry about that. I guess somebody was talking in the background. Tim Calkins wanted to ask a question. I don't know if this is Jim, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can, yes.
Okay, great. Two quick questions. First of all, you mentioned the redirect from the old URL to the new URL. Do you know about how long that you plan to keep that in effect?
I've asked for it to be in effect for a month.
Okay.
So it should be in effect for a month at a minimum.
Okay, good. And the other thing regarding the change of the URL, if I'm telling people the location of the new, all I have is a community. So if I'm telling people the location of the new community, the direct link is the only change, just the domain, changing it to VLab.NCEP. In other words, is everything beyond that still going to remain the same?
The only thing that did change is at the old URL for collaboration services, there was an innovate at the end of it.
Right.
It was, so that innovate is no longer there.
Okay, so it would just be like VLab.NCEP.noaa.gov/web/community name?
That is correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Well, I see Mike is probably ready to go. Mike Giebler, would you like to take us through some of the changes brought about by the change to LifeRay 6.2?
Okay, sure. So LifeRay, with this migration, we're also doing an upgrade. And with that, we have some changes. The most noticeable thing right up front is the look and feel is a little bit different. So you can see the colors are different. The focus from LifeRay on this upgrade was making the website more responsive for use by telephones and tablets and things like that. And I'll just do a quick walk through that so you can see what that looks like. The person I'm logged in here is an administrator or a site owner, so he has access to this preview button on the new dock bar. And with that, you can kind of see that they've created this to be where the web page will change size so that there's the real estate that is taken up is optimized, especially in the navigation bars at the top. They put these up here where these are the tabs that were across the top. They've moved to this little hamburger icon up here. Also, the tablet looks pretty much the same as what a phone does. So that is just kind of a quick overview of that responsiveness that they focused on that. Some of the bigger changes with the look and feel is this dock bar itself. You used to have a control panel option if you're a site owner, and now that has been taken away. They've opted to change that to admin, and from this admin, site owner or site administrator can do the administration of the page. I'll kind of go into that for you real quick. So from that link, it gives you a little bit different look and feel for the control panel here for this. This is where you would add some pages. You can navigate between public and private pages, add pages from here and everything like that. Also, this is where you can manage your content, like the web content. You can create web content from this location. And one thing that I wanted to mention, since we're here at this spot, is they've made some new features to the web content in that they now have the ability to organize these things into folders. I don't have any set up on here right now, but you can see that you can add a folder. And then you can put pertinent content into that folder just to help organize things that way. I'm not sure where that went. So I don't have anything in there right now, but okay. Another new feature, since I'm here, is this recycle bin feature. And what that is for some of these assets like web content, wikis, documents in the document library, you used to delete those and they'd be gone forever. Now, with the recycle bin feature, these things are, you don't have the option to automatically delete them. That you initially send them to a recycle bin, and each site has the ability to set how long you want to keep things in a recycle bin before they're permanently deleted. So if I were to delete like this picture right here, as you can see, I have a, whoops, hold on here just a second. Okay, the option is not delete anymore, it's moved to recycle bin.
Hi there.
And now, if you go to...
that I'm talking with Ron on this issue, so you don't need to look into it.
So now you see it in the...
with him on it.
In the recycle bin, and when it's in there, you have the option you can permanently delete it at your leisure from here, or you can restore it back to where it was originally located. And you can see it's back in where it was here before. And in this control panel also, this is where you would manage your users. They have community memberships. You click on that, and this is where you can add new members if you needed to, or you can do some other organization, like if you have members that you want to assign a community role to, you have that option from here. Say you want to give a site owner to somebody, you can pick some of the existing users that are out here. Update association. Additionally, this is where if you were wanted to assign teams, what this is another way of controlling permissions on your community. You can create small groups of teams. You do that clicking here, add a team. I have a test team here. Once that's created, you can add members to it. So I'll assign a few members here, and so now what you can do with that is if you have some items that you want to restrict access to, you can do that with the permissions on that. So that should be an option in here. Hopefully I'm in the right spot for this. This is probably a bad example. What I need to do is go to like the document management library. Let me do that for a second here. Okay. So here's my new test team, and I can assign specific permissions to this. So I could, if I wanted to remove some of the permissions from some of these other things, like I can say a guest can't view this anymore, and then I can say that this team can, just as an example of what you can do with fine-graining some permissions using that team concept in the new control panel here. Down in this configuration section, there's a new concept in LifeRay called Application Display Templates, and that's available for some of the different portlets that LifeRay has, and those include the Asset Publisher, blogs, the Media Gallery, Sitemap, the Tags Navigator. And what that is it's a way for you to change LifeRay's default, how that displays on your on the page. I have a quick example to kind of show you what I'm talking about with that. So here I've created just a simple application display template. You can see that there's HTML mixed in with objects that appear on the page, and this is designed to go against tags navigation, and I'll show you how that works here in a second. So here's the default view of the categories navigation. It just goes in a single column like this. This application display template that I had is more of a columnar one, so each of the different categories will show up in its own column if I apply this template to it. So you can see that's totally changed the look of that. So it's just something that's new. We aren't that familiar with it yet, but it's something to keep in mind on some of these portlets that we might be able to do some look and feel changes that way. One other thing I wanted to show you is the new LifeRay has a concept of site hierarchies, and this is kind of in its infancy right now. It doesn't do everything that I would expect it to do, but it can. But what its intention of it is to share content between sites, and what it is kind of a parent-child relationship. And currently what you can share between sites is things in the Asset Publisher, and you can also share web content. I'll give you a quick example of how that looks. If I go to here, I have a demo community and a demo child community. So if I go to this child community, currently I have this Asset Publisher set up to show documents and media, and this child community doesn't have any documents and media, but I can actually display the documents and media from its parent community if I do the right configuration here, and I'll show you that real quick here. So that's defined in the scope area here. And I selected its parent community, and now I can see all the documents that are in from that parent community, from a different community that way. And I did the same thing over here with the web content display over here. And that works a little bit differently. That's based on this search options. You have a configuration for a fine-grained search. What you do is you scroll down to the bottom, and you can pick the parent community to search for things in there. And I can't think of what I need to search for off the top of my head. So I'll search everything and see what shows up. So there's 3 pieces of web content in that parent community that I can choose from and display here. So you can see this child community is actually displaying web content from the parent community. One last thing I wanted to show you is I don't know if anyone's using workflow, but if you used to find your workflow items through the control panel, now it is actually located over here on your account. And it goes to My Workflow Tasks, and you can see any pending workflow items from there. And it's pretty similar to, this behaves similar to the way it currently does. I just wanted to show you that to get to this, you have to go to a slightly different location. So here's where you can assign it and then approve it. And that, I think, is most of the major changes for due to the upgrade to LifeRay. So I just wanted to know if anyone had any questions about that, or.
Hey, Mike, we've had a number of questions, and I'm going to go ahead and just read them.
Okay.
And Evan, if you're on, you can unmute yourself, I believe, and just follow up on any questions. But Evan wanted to know, so can we leverage community teams in Redmine and Jarrett?
That I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, not at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty. I guess that's a no then. Okay, and then he says, how does the community relate to Redmine and Jarrett? So I must be a fairly new user and wants just a little bit of clarification on how these three different components relate to each other.
Excuse me. There's not really a physical relationship between them. What we do a lot of times is that if there's a project in Redmine, we'll create a corresponding community. They're pretty much mutually exclusive, but the collaboration services spot gives you some additional tools to do some collaboration through document management and things like that. There's not really a physical tie-in between the two right now.
Yeah, the one tie-in that there is on the Redmine site. If you're using some of the more advanced features like code review or finer-grained access controls using Jarrett for your Git repository, then there is a linkage there, and that is that within your Redmine project, you can see the repository, the Git repository that's being managed through Jarrett, through the Redmine project itself. So that's one connection. But between collaboration services and the communities, they're independent from what we have on the development services side at this point in time.
All right. I think there were a number of people who were looking for that kind of information, because I know Stephen Coates had asked a similar thing. So he works at NSSL, and he wanted to know, since there's new URLs, does he use Redmine or Jarrett or what to get back to the VLab? And I think what he's looking for there is the fact that there's like 4 different URLs, all taking him to different services. I guess we'll call it the root URL is going to collaboration services, which is what we talk about when we think of communities, and that's where he probably is expecting to do most of his work on the VLab. And if I've got something wrong, Stephen, by all means, reiterate what you wanted to find out. Did I get that right, Stephen? You want me to I think you're muted.
Yeah, you got it right. I was just texting it to you.
Okie dokie. All right. Okay, so let's see. Okay, gotcha. So I think we've covered all the questions that people had raised in the question section of the GoToMeeting. Let's see if there's anybody with questions regarding, hold on just a second. Anyone have their hand raised? Let's see. Okay, I don't see any questions raised. All righty. One last call for questions for Mike G on changes resulting from the LifeRay upgrade. All righty. Well, if you do have additional questions, we'll have a time at the end probably to come back, so you can hold those till then. The next segment we'll be getting to deals with some of the resources that we've put in place to help you, realizing that you're going to come away from this meeting and maybe have some questions as you think back on what we were talking about. And so we put some of this, oops, where is it? Let's see, Mike, I'm going to steal back. I think I can do it here. There we go. Okay. Show my screen. Okay. There we go. I thought I had. Okay. So when you log into the VLab, hold on just a second. Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties here. Okay, can everyone see my screen, which should show your typical landing page for the current virtual lab?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. You can see it there, Ken?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to be talking about is this section right up here, the IDP migration page. And so when you log in, you just go basically to the rightmost menu item, and you can see there's a number of pages underneath it, and we'll get to each of those as we go through the page itself. Okay, so what we tried to do was to lay this out in a way that made sense to someone who wanted to know about what was going on. And so we started from really the basics by mentioning that this will all take place on December 5th. And on that day, starting about 11 o'clock on the 4th, 11 p.m. on the 4th, the VLab will not be available for use until we get it migrated over. And then once it's migrated, you will no longer be able to access it in the old location, but will be redirected to its new home in the IDP. So there's actually the two pieces or two things that are changing. We make that clear here, where we're talking about new internet home in the IDP, as well as this look and feel change with upgrade to LifeRay. And then we wanted to make sure that people could get a quick overview of what this meant to them. And in most cases, it's really not much, but we wanted to make that clear. And so we broke it out into the sort of the three user communities we could think of, and that is, your basic user who's just coming to find information on the VLab, perhaps. And so basically to them, it just means the URLs are changing. And so this is the location. I know there were a number of people who asked, oh, well, what was that URL again? Well, you can find the URL right here. We've got all four of them. And of course, the one that takes you to the communities is the first one, the VLab Collaboration Services. And then if you're developing software, then you'll be very familiar with these other three. So these are for software developers primarily. And this is your Redmine, the Jenkins, which is for code review, not code review, but let's see, what is that? Okay, so yeah, continuous integration. Let's test whether your software is working, whether it's building correctly, and then manages the software in some way. And then the code review is the Jarrett. So this helps people work together in a team fashion to review software, to approve it, make sure that what gets put out into the repository is something that everybody has agreed makes sense. So if you're a software developer, the bottom three. If you're just in the collaboration, the communities, and the top one. So you know, for these users, there's also going to be these changes, look and feel. So we've created pages for each of those where they can go and look and just get a sense of what's going to happen. But for the most part, they may or may not be interested in that. For owners like many of you on this call, there are some additional changes, and so we encourage you to go to the new features and the improved capabilities pages and take a look and become familiar with those, so that when you do get around to needing to approve a new member or add some web content, you'll know how to do it in the new 6.2 environment. So we've laid that out, and we'll take a look at these in a minute. And then for software developers, there's a page for them which talks about the changes that Ken had mentioned in detail, so that they can go ahead and make that transition to the new root URL. So then we figured, okay, so people, you know, wanting to know more about this would say, well, you know, so what were the new things, what's improved, and we've got those 2 pages available. And then sort of a timeline on what to expect. So before we actually begin the migration, people are encouraged to continue to do what they do normally, and we're letting them know that all the work they do before the transition will be saved and migrated to the new location. And we'll be trying to, as best we can, get the word out. So we're sending out tweets, we're sending out email, and of course placing announcements on the VLab itself. So hopefully people will not suffer from a lack of information. On the day of the event, of course, the VLab will not be available, so people should work that into their schedule and make sure they don't have anything they have to do on that day. And that transition begins on the, I guess, the 4th at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So basically in the wee hours, Ken will be dutifully working away, making this all happen so that we can do a lot of testing the following the following Friday morning. And then afterwards, basically start using the service. If you see things that don't seem quite right, by all means, send us an email at vlab.admins@noaa.gov and let us know. We'll be ready to take care of any minor tweaks that need to take place. And if you see something that you don't understand or whatever, and you're just looking for some help, then you may want to consider sending us an email for that too. So I thought it would be useful. People may want to know why we're doing this, and so we've laid out a few of the reasons why. But basically, it's to sort of pave the way for improvements in terms of capabilities down the road, and then to bring along the software to take advantage of some of the new features that have been added over time on the LifeRay side of things. We also wanted to talk about how can people stay abreast, because that's one thing that everyone will probably want to do. And we mentioned that you can monitor the NIDS Twitter feed, where we'll be posting status updates. And then also this page will be available up until the time we begin to migrate, to keep you aware of what's going on. And one of the things we hope to do is when we iron out a couple last bugs, we'd like to give you the opportunity, not only you, but also members of your community and projects, to experiment with the latest version prior to migration. So this would be in just an experimental mode, playing around like in a sandbox where you're not expecting to keep any of the work. And that should be happening hopefully very soon, but we want to make sure that everything's ready for people to use before turning them loose on that. And then we also have this last little bit of segment. So we've got there's a frequently asked questions page, which we'll hopefully add a few more things to. And then we always want to make sure you're aware that you can go to the vlab.admins@noaa.gov email to get help. So I just want to quickly show you a couple of the pages. So you've seen them before. The frequently asked questions has a few things. Again, we put the URLs here for you just in case you want to provide those to your users. And then a few other questions. Community owners can go to the community owner page. And this has basically sort of the key things that are happening. There's feature improvements, and then there's look and feel. We've updated the user's guide to reflect these new look and feel items. And so if you're interested in basically helping, helping your community members migrate, then we want you to do that for us. Help us out there by sending them the link to this page, the migration page. But there's also, let's see, okay, so, oh yeah, and then also you can go to, let's see, yeah, the new feature page, and the user's guide will show you basically what the look and feel changes are. So you can take a quick look. And so as Mike G mentioned, there's the responsive design. So, depending on what electronic device you're using, the site responds appropriately to that change in resolution and screen size. And then there's, we talked about the community hierarchy, so it's all here available for you to take a look at your leisure. All right. My screen is messing up here, so there we go. All right, so improved capabilities, the migration plan. I'll just quickly show you that. Let's see, I guess I have to log in. So if you wanted to see sort of what we're planning in terms of day of migration activities to keep users abreast, you can take a quick look at our plan. You can see we've made some good progress. Still some stuff you have to do as we head through the wire here. And then finally, the updated user's guide is here. So this is the URL that you could provide to your community members. Anyway, alrighty. So basically, this is your one-stop location for information regarding the migration. And certainly, if you have questions above and beyond what's available there, or available on the page, give us a call and let us know, and we'll see if we can make an update and make it available to other people. Okay. So I'm going to move it back to the user's guide and let Tatiana give you just a quick overview of what's available in the new user guide.
So, hi. Everything you've seen here regarding the collaboration services, you can find it in the updated user guide. Actually, the new library version has a cleaner look, so it will be much simpler for you to navigate the page. So basically, the user guide will be more useful for community owners because now it is simpler to I don't know, accept users or add content to your page, but there might be other paths that you might take, or the control panel is different, so you might get a little lost at the beginning. So, but here you can go to the user guide and just look for what you need. For example, at members or your private community, it will tell you where to go. Now, before you had to go to the control panel and then go to the, I believe it was the users on the left side, but now it's just a drop-down menu on the main page, which is here under admin. I believe it will be your name. Or, oh no, we'll say admin, I'm sorry. We'll say admin, and then you just look for users, and everything is more simpler. Just accept or reject the request. And same thing, other requests. Also, external partners, the form will be the same, but it might be stored in a different location. And it might look different, so you can go here and see how you can add the external partner. And another thing is that on the user guide, to add new web content, you can go here, see what's different. Now on the web content, as Mike mentioned, now you can add everything into folders, which is much, much simpler when you trying to edit a page or when you're trying to add a content. And another thing is, the teams. If you're interested in creating a team for your community, I lost it again.
Down to that one.
Oh, if you're interested in creating a team for your community, you can come here and see all the steps. We added to all the user guides. They have their own image, so you can pretty much just follow the image and see and create your teams or create permissions for your team members. Also, another nice thing that the community has is the workflow. In here, we have video of how to use the workflow. And what else? Another different thing, it will be the science sharing, how to add content. It will be the same process, but it will look different. So you, as a community owner, you can come here and just take a look at how to add, how to edit, how to delete, and just let us know if we're missing any data or anything you would like to see. In the user guide, we'll be happy to add it because this new version, it has a lot of, well, it has some new features that we still haven't created user guide for, but it will be, if you're interested, we can show you how to do things on this new version of the VLab. And I guess that's it. I'll just turn it back to John. And
okay, well, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that overview. Let's see. So I guess we've reached the end of our formal presentation, and that would bring us to basically the round table. And pretty much we've reserved this time to answer any questions that you might have. So let me get the, let's see. Does anyone have any questions? And if so, raise your hand. Or many of you should be able to talk because I've unmuted you. So.
Yeah, I got a question. This is Steve Cox. Good morning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, just was wondering if in the future, I know you've got a meeting scheduled the 28th. If I can get a couple of field people to come online, would that be okay with y'all?
Certainly. That's not a problem at all.
All right, then. Hey, I appreciate it.
If you think they'd like to be regular participants and you're willing to share their names with me, I'll be happy to add them to the list. And then they'll get these meeting updates, you know, as we go forward.
No, I don't have names right now. Just talking with a few folks here. I'm just trying to see if I can get some feedback in the proper places.
Okay. Well, excellent.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Couple things regarding our next meeting. In fact, we are planning to shift the meeting time up an hour. So instead of meeting at 3 o'clock Eastern, we'd be meeting at 2 o'clock. And so we'll be, you know, making sure everyone's aware of that change. But if for some reason that doesn't make sense in terms of your normal activities, please let us know because we don't want to do anything that would jeopardize, you know, most people's ability to attend these things. But we thought that would help some people out here on the East Coast with some you know, work-related changes there, shift change, that kind of thing. Alrighty. The other thing is we will be posting the recording from the meeting and make it available on the migration page and also in the Focal Point community. So if you have folks who would like to take a look at that, be sure and let them know it's available. And by all means, if there's anything we can do to help you with the migration, please get in touch with us. If there are no other questions, we will wish you a good afternoon and look forward to talking with you shortly after the migration takes place on Friday.
Okay,
Thank
thank you for the update.
Thank you.